So it's very heartening to hear Mr. Teoh come out and condemn it. I think that's excellent. That is the way the whole thing should have been done from the word go. The other thing that we're finding, because as you know, Bersih has its citizen observers project. We actually have citizens who are observing from the date of dissolution. We are observing many smear campaigns. That is another demand of Bersih. Stop dirty politics. That also hasn't been fulfilled. It's going on. Right as we speak, it's going on. How can they say we fulfill 7 of your 8 demands? What's happened to that? And before you say, that's not the EC's purview, it is. Because we have an Election Offences Act that covers all these things. And it falls directly within the purview of the Election Commission to actually control these elements. So that's another area in which I don't know how the EC can say that they have fulfilled that demand. The thing about overseas votes, good, well done. They actually implemented it, although it came very late and there was a lot of confusion, but it actually did happen. And I think although the percentage of turnout I'm not sure what the percentage was, there were little problems here and there. We got reports that there were dots on some of the voting ballots and so on, but by and large, am I right, Andrew? I think by and large it went off quite well. So we'll see how the rest of that process goes. That was a good thing. The problem was it was too much at the last minute, so a lot of people actually didn't choose to vote by postal ballot. Many Malaysians are coming home. And in fact, here again, I have a quarrel with the EC. And I know EC has been going around taping my speeches, by the way, so I say the same thing. One of the issues was EC coming out and saying Singapore, though Malaysians living in Singapore cannot come into Malaysia to vote in Singapore registered cars. Now that is ridiculous. There you are. You see, everybody knows it's ridiculous. You see, so someone immediately said to me, oh, can we fly by Qantas and come and vote, you know, from Australia? So that's again, you know. So these are the little things that actually are giveaways on how the EC is, whether they are the independent referees that we want them to be. So they may have their own reasons, but we don't see it. They're not giving us the explanation, a proper explanation as to why they come out with these pronouncements. Now the other thing is corruption. That's another of our demands. But I can tell you from reports that we get, vote buying takes place. I can tell you that, okay? I won't say which party or whatever, but it's happening. And we have been issuing our statements in relation to vote buying. Every week, Pemantau has been coming out. We hear of goodie bags that suddenly contain cash. We actually have video evidence which we will be handing over to the police, that on nomination day, monies were handed over. So we do have some of this. In fact, we have the evidence for whatever we say. And we have been coming out on a weekly basis, and we don't take sides. We talk about both sides, wherever it happens. And of course, we can't cover all incidents. We wait for people to report to us sometimes. So because really our aim is, let's make this election a pleasant one for everybody. That this campaign period should be pleasant. I mean, you have flyers in Johor that say, that talk about Lim Kit Siang and say, he's responsible for May 13. Of course, I lived through May 13, and I know that's a lie, an absolute lie. So why is that happening? You see, the other thing is this whole thing about May 13. It's raising its ugly head again. It's also again being used. So it's the kind of campaigning that people do. And I know that one person cannot control what the others do. I accept that. One candidate cannot control what other candidates do. But this is what you were saying, which is we need to lift our level of campaigning to something that is more professional, that is more ethical. So there you are. That's on the ground. But if I was a leader, I would come out and condemn it. That's all I'm saying. If I was a leader and anyone in my party or anyone was doing that, I would condemn it. I wouldn't keep quiet. Yep. But it's not happening. So that's how I feel that we can. You see, I do feel that there's no leadership sometimes in this country, because leaders are the ones who have to come out and set the tone. And that is not happening enough. It happens sometimes, but it's not happening enough. And of course, we're very concerned. We're also concerned about those bombs, which were thrown into the Barisan Gerak or some, like few instances of that. We want the police to find out who did this. We want to know who these people are who are responsible for it. So we want urgent investigations. So these are the kinds, and don't forget, last year there were bombs that were set up after Datuk Sri Anwar's acquittal. 3 bombs went up outside the courthouse, okay? And we still haven't caught the perpetrators of that. So we need to deal with violence. We cannot be seen to be condoning it, because when they're not serious about it, it looks as if it's being condoned. And that's the problem that we are facing today as well. So those are the big, the main issues. Of course, the campaign period, yes, I accept we've got a longer campaign period sorry, we wanted 21 days, we now have 15. Fair enough, I thought, you know, given the present circumstances where we've already been campaigning for 2 years, 15 days was fine. So I came out and I said, okay, we accept the 15 days. At least that is something that's positive. Now, on the electoral roll, to me, that is the key. No point fixing and tweaking 15 days to 7 days if your electoral roll has a huge problem. And I know you're not everyone's going to agree with me, but I go by the signals that I get from the Election Commission. If it is a commission that is committed to cleaning up, then when the Selangor state government came out with their report to show that of the 500,000 new voters, 28% were dubious, what the Election Commission ought to have done is immediately jumped on it and said, we will look into it straight away. Instead, their response was, it's not your work. State government shouldn't have done this. That was the response. That is an unacceptable response by a responsible election commission. They should be happy. People are helping them clean up the electoral roll. So for me, and there are more question marks. We've received reports, many reports that people who were registered and have voted 7 or 8 times have suddenly found themselves off the roll. Their names are not there. Then the other side of the coin is we've received reports that there are many people who never registered, who are overseas, never registered, suddenly their names are on the electoral roll. That's not the kind of automatic registration we were talking about. Okay? We want automatic registration, not like that. So that's another thing that is a big cause for concern. We're getting many reports of that. So what we have actually told people is, look, if your names are on the roll, go get your ballot and register, because we don't want those ballots going astray. We've also said that those whose names have disappeared off the computer screen, off the website, go anyway, because the hard copy may still show your name. So that's the advice that we have given. And there are many other little things that are happening that do give us cause for concern, which is why we have called for 100%. I know we can't get 100%. Our voter turnout actually is pretty good. It's about 75%. But we want a very high voter turnout, because with a high voter turnout, we can mitigate some of these discrepancies and what we consider fraud. We can mitigate it if the voter turnout is high. Now, I will also say that the fear tactics that are being used. One is, of course, the spectre of May 13. But I am aware that people in the civil service, because they come up and tell me this quietly, you know, civil service and certain marginalized communities or communities who are seen as perhaps more wanting or oppressed, who are afraid because they think that if they vote in a particular way, they will lose their housing loan or their study loan, or they will lose their jobs. You'd be surprised. I mean, I know I heard the story where this man said, look, I'm a government servant, so I have to vote this way, but my wife is going to vote the other way, you know, because they think it'll balance it out. That's what's happening. So that people are also preying on that fear. But what I will say is this, that I think gone are the days, actually, gone are the days that Malaysians are so easily gullible. And I say this because I've been around the country. Not all over the country, but I've been to places. And you'll be surprised how tuned in Malaysians are this time about these elections. And our greatest asset, actually, is our awareness. And I think because the awareness is what is going to make the difference in these elections. And I think that, in a way, Bersih, and as well as all the other NGOs who've been working for years and years and years, this raising of the awareness of the people is what has made the difference. And the politicians have to respond. They cannot give us the same responses. They cannot use the same tactics. That's why I say, Mr. Chu, this is the right response. You know, don't insult the intelligence, for goodness sakes, of the voter. Stop doing that, because it's not working. It's actually better to reach out to them. And at the end of the day, I think in these elections, because of the heightened awareness, what's going to win the day is going to be those who have won the hearts and minds of the people. No, not those who have used force. That's my reading. That's my reading from going where I've been. And that's the way it should be. It should be about winning the hearts and minds of the people, not by getting the result you want by force. Thank you. And it is this. I am aware, even in England, you have, and the States, you have newspapers that are pro this or pro that. I accept that. But the point is, there is always another point of view. There's not just one point of view. So everybody has to have access to all this press. That's the point that is being made. And I accept the point about, by the way, CIJ recently did a report, and they found the online media in Malaysia, and I applaud them, to be much, much fairer than in fact, almost, they give equal treatment to all the parties. And I applaud them. And the difference is this: if you say something about me in the press, and I can tell you from personal experience, that they come out and they talk about Bersih, and they do this and they do that, without giving us a right of reply. That's what's missing. You want to say something and you have a view, whether based on fact or not, that's fine. But you have the guts to give me a chance to reply. That's what we're talking about.
Teoh. First of all, Teoh, right? Yeah. I really appreciate what you're doing here. I know it's very difficult to be a lone voice, so I really want to say that. But I want to also express, because actually it's the first time actually MC is having a forum like this where you're inviting people to come and share ideas. So what I wanted to say was, given the fact that most of us as citizens feel that it's been a very unfair playing ground, the money, there'll be so many examples. So, and I've gone through many, many elections. So, but in these elections, there is this terrible feeling that the BN is going to steal the elections. It's going to be a stolen election. So I really would like your opinion about that, because if on the 6th of May, if BN wins, the general feeling, and I speak on my behalf, would be that they've stolen the elections because of this very unfair money they're giving out, the threats, all of it. And the threats are real, they've met people. So it would be the BN has stolen the election, so it will not be even a legitimate position that you're having. So what do you have to say about that? And I'm really sorry to put this on you, but you're here and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay. I think as the lone voice, of course it will be a hard time for you to answer this. Right. General friend, no? Yes. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Don't worry.
Gandhi was a lone voice.
Yes. Okay. Right. The general impression is that the election may be unfair and it can be manipulated and so on. But in terms of Cheras, as far as I see it, because I've been monitoring it, it has gone through very smoothly after the postal, so-called early voting. Out of the 398, only about 10 didn't turn up for voting. So that's quite encouraging, I'll say. And then in terms of the election process, I was inside the polling center watching over the voting process as well as the counting process, and I'm pretty sure that it is fair, because for the past few elections, we didn't win, right? And it wasn't won by MCA before. Since day one, Cheras, for 4 terms, Tan Kau Wai is the Member of Parliament. I'm pretty sure that it is clean because I was there last election in GE12. I was the polling agent and counting agent as well. But in other places, I'm not sure, and I really want to see some. All right, so I have 2 questions here with me. Number one is from this gentleman here about the political reform. Political reform will have to start from ourselves and a group of people, from the party and all the way up to the nation. And if we just talk about, let's say, changing the nation without even changing yourself, your own political point of view, it will not happen. So the first step is actually to change our mindset and to change those surrounding us. And I'm just going to do that. I can promise you that within my group, I'm going to inculcate this new thinking so that people will have a more liberal thinking. And this is the most important essence for change. And of course, after that, we need to have action plan. It cannot be just, political reform without any action plan. We need to revamp the entire party, right? The structure of it, the leadership, how we are going to make sure that we have capable leaders that will speak on behalf of the people. And obviously that will take some time, and it's not too late anyway to have a very first start, and then we hope that's my hope, to actually be able to put this message through to MCA that we need to actually rejuvenate. That's the most important thing, and to make sure that we make the right decision for the people, and that's the first thing. And in terms of the free access to media, well, we have to look at it this way. It is reciprocal, and because it was publicized as an advertisement, right? So advertisement, based on the media's requirement for income, they cannot stop it. But they can actually judge whether to accept or to reject a certain advertisement. And of course, reciprocally, if we look at it, there are also many media that condemns MCA, saying that we are the slaves or UMNO and so on. If that is to be taken down as well, is that supposed to be as well? Yeah. It has to be taken down. Yeah. Then you say that it's true, and this one you say that it's false. It's an opinion, right? That's why if we were to do something like that, right? Yeah.
Let him speak, guys.
Okay? If let's say this is going to be a fair playing ground, you should let me speak. Alright? So who said that we are afraid of UMNO? I myself have been fighting with them so long, and it's because you don't see it, you say that we are afraid of them. Right? So that's the most important thing. How can we actually negotiate? We need better negotiation skill. And that's the most important thing, right? And among the Pakatan Rakyat, I guess, well, if you say semua kata sepakat, well, that's actually not 100% true lah, as well, right? So the most important thing is how to negotiate. As a leader, one of your important tasks is to negotiate with the rest of your component parties, or even with your, let's say, fellow parties as well. And this is important. And I believe that, if that is going to be the standard, let's say no publication that will tarnish other people's image and so on, other parties' image and so on, then it has to be across the board. It cannot be one-sided. It has to be reciprocal. Two-part, okay?